All right, guys, welcome to Onelife Podcast. My guest today is Dr. Leslie, sorry.
Just Leslie is fine.
We're talking doctor, we're talking Leslie.
It's a branding thing, whatever. Leslie is who I am. It's authentic. We'll stick with that.
Thank you for being here. So you've got your own podcast.
I do.
Next Level Podcast with Dr. Leslie.
That's right.
I love the name.
Thank you.
How long has it been in existence?
Oh, it's been a short time. I think 3 months now. I'm at only 11, 12 episodes.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a stat. Once you get over, most 90 or 95% of podcasts won't make it past 10 episodes. So you're already past that. So well
really?
done. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Huge.
It's so funny because I was actually just last week at that point where I'm reinventing it. And I'm like, I totally get that statistic because I was right there going, I've done 10. I don't feel great about my skills and all of those things. Even though I've learned a ton, what direction do I want to take with it? So I actually took a breather week this week, which would be episode 11, 12.
Just don't let that be your stopping
No, it's
point.
not. No, it's not. So I just actually made the decision this morning. I said, we're going to air one of the episodes that they didn't catch all the recording just as an audio. I just need time to set back. It's been spring break. There's been lots of crazy stuff going on. So I'm like, I just need to reprogram myself. But no, I've got some amazing stuff coming out next week. So many cool things. I'm actually going to be highlighting more of my expertise.
Yeah.
So maybe you can relate to this as a podcaster, being sort of an expert in many of the fields that I've sort of honed my skills in. Being the host, it's like I'm biting my lip and I'm like, I want so much to say. And there's all these things going through my head, which is great. I mean, I want my guests to speak, but I'm sort of shifting it more so I can make it a platform where I can really give more of my wisdom.
You can contribute to
all of the greatness and horrible things that have gone on in my life that have made me this, powerful, influential person to the people that I care for and that I interact with. So yeah, I'm shifting it now. So it was just a pause, but no, I'm not stopping.
Have you ever heard the saying, listening with the intent to reply?
Yes.
So most of us don't listen properly. And I was talking to someone about it. It's just catch-22 when you're a podcast host, because you're talking and you're listening. There's something really important or something you really want to jump in on, and you don't cut them off. But if you don't cut them off, you forget what you're going to say.
That's right.
So it's like, this lady, she's told me she has an iPad and she takes notes while she's Sally Allen.
Yes.
She was telling me she takes notes on her iPad.
Yes.
I was like, that's genius.
It
because
is.
you don't want to cut someone off, but you don't want to not talk about it or dive deeper.
Right.
And that's a whole skill in itself.
It is, absolutely. And I take notes. When I stepped back over the pandemic, I was kind of going through a reshift and reshuffling. I was doing coaching, and during my sessions, it was the same thing. I mean, I learned so much about being a podcast host from coaching just with the listening. And I mean, while being in medicine, I mean, as a nurse practitioner, that's all I did.
That's all you do, yeah.
Listen, but I also asked a lot of questions, had to assimilate very quickly. So my brain works very fast from all of that medical, like you're scanning your brain of all the knowledge of what this possible diagnosis could be very, very, very rapidly. And then you want to like dish it out and move on. So my brain, it's very,
it's wired for that.
It is. It's wired, but at the same time, my pace is so much more fast when someone wants to share their story, and I'm just like, there's so much that we could get into and so much that can be said.
It's also picking which way to go too, because there's so many ways you and I can talk about a million different things.
Truly, we could a million different
Where
things.
do you start? What do you focus on?
Right.
Do you have self-doubting beliefs being a podcast host? Like, who are you to have your own podcast and why?
Never.
Oh, I like that. Why not? What is that?
I think the better question is why? Why do I have it? And why not? I mean, because I don't know why I don't. I've gone through so much in my life.
You're just owning it.
I just know, I've known since I was 5 years old that I had very big things to do. I told people that I was going to be a brain surgeon because when the brain is broken, it's unfixable, and I would fix the impossible. So I knew when I was 5, of course, then I went through all my stuff, and then you get conditioned by the world, and you're like, oh my God, I can't do anything. Life is scary and I'm incapable. And then you get broken. I mean, I was fortunate enough where my life came crashing down, where I finally was broken of all of those things and came into this person where I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand who I am and how life, not like I can't control life. We cannot control things that happen, but I understand how to do life in a way when obstacles show up, that they're serving me. Like I truly understand that when shit hits the fan, it is serving me. I didn't know that, and it terrified the fuck out of me. I hope I can swear on your podcast. Sorry if anyone's offended. But I was so anxious. Like I was such an anxious kid, and I was broken of all of that. And so I just know, like I knew when I was 5, it's like I've transported back to that 5-year-old where you have this unbridled confidence, enthusiasm, like knowing that I have things that I need to share, and I love expressing. And I might be full of shit. I may not know what I'm talking about to the extent someone else does, or that might evolve. A thought process or a belief that I have might evolve, and in 10 years I'll be like, yeah, I had no idea what I was talking about. That was just me in that
at that
point
moment,
in time.
yeah.
But I'm not arrogant enough to say that this is how it is. This is what I believe in this moment, and this is what truth is. And again, from medicine, what we know now, 50% will be redundant. I can't remember exactly how long. It's like in 10 years or 15 years. Like 50% is a lot. Maybe
it's just evolving that quickly.
Yeah, because like even what our understanding of asthma was like 15, 20 years ago, is diabetes too, cancer, like all these new theories and understandings. Like we once thought, things that were incurable are totally curable. Things that we thought you were just going to be completely degenerative and you were just going to suffer and eventually die. Now we have, medicines. And
so what comes to mind is, do you mind if you share your age?
I'm 39.
Okay, I'm 43. So we get chickenpox at school, right?
Yes.
Chickenpox isn't a thing anymore,
It's not
supposedly.
a thing.
I didn't know that. Did you know that? Oh, obviously you knew that because you work with it.
Yeah.
I found that out. I was like, chickenpox isn't a thing. Everybody got chickenpox.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't exist.
It just doesn't exist.
It blew my mind.
Just like smallpox. It does not exist.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're getting at.
So, and we were talking a little bit before your show here about my doctor nursing practice. So I chose to go back and get my DNP because the Institute of Medicine put a call out in 2008 for some medical professionals, some fields, to basically bridge the gap between research and the bedside, because on average it took about 15, 17 years for research to get translated to the bedside.
That's scary, isn't it?
So, and probably it's still pretty bad now, maybe not as bad, but could you imagine, like even 6 years ago, okay, what's discovered today, I'm not going to have access to for almost 2 decades.
There's a cure which can treat what I need today, and it's available, but it's not connected.
Yeah, or like something that will make your heart surgery outcomes better. Like 50% of people who broke their hip, elderly who broke their hip, would die. That statistic has changed because of advancement. Could you imagine though, like if that back then you had a family member who broke their hip, there is something right now that could be.
Or it's only a year away or 6 months away, not 15 years.
Like, right. Like it's shocking.
So you're saying a lot of people have died and unnecessarily.
Unnecessarily, just because that gap wasn't bridged.
That's
so
crazy.
What
do you think that gap is now?
I don't know. It really depends. A lot of, the healthcare industry has been trying to push for more integration, bringing more doctor nursing practice graduates into, CNO, Chief Nursing Officer roles, more quality improvement roles. So they're trying. I don't know how successful. I try to stay out of the hospital medical world just because there's some inconsistencies, there's challenges. So I don't know where the data sits. I don't keep up with it. I'm more focused on the nonprofit, the more global health, population versus the hospital stuff. And that's really where most of the funding and the focus is. It's the hospital, because most people in the United States, they're very, very sick, and the hospitals are where kind of most of the care is, unfortunately. Okay. Other countries, They're focused on the outside, prevention, community resources, like tertiary.
Doesn't really exist here, does it? Prevention, and
it's
kind of scary.
It starts.
I've lived in 2 different countries. Like I see it firsthand.
Yeah, you're from
Australia.
Yeah,
Australia's completely different to this place.
I know.
So scary.
And this is why I actually got my doctorate in nursing practice. So I went to Tanzania, Africa for 3 months. I was chosen among 75 other students. There were 6 of us who went to do a malaria awareness project in my 3rd year of my undergrad. It was the most amazing experience. That's what I love to do. Create, looking at different infrastructures, different ways people do things and fix their problems, like finding innovative solutions for long-standing health problems. Like that is my game. That's what I love. The problem, unfortunately, with a lot of these health systems is that you have to look at who pays them, like where they get their funding from, the drug reps that come in, like it's all focused on one. They're just major players that are influencing it. And I'm not going to say if it's bad or good. I'm not going to get on that.
But it's more business than it is anything.
Right. And so there's only so much innovation you can have when you have all these players saying, this is what we need to push.
Yeah.
Now figure it out. Well, that's like you're in a box. How much innovation can you do? They keep spinning their wheels. So the system isn't working the way that it could, like in other countries that they maybe don't have so much strength in their stakeholders having almost guns to their head saying, you have to do it this way. When you have a little bit more lax and I wouldn't even say lax, it's just a different way of structuring a system, then you have more opportunities for innovation. So the system itself is broken, and I'm not the only one in healthcare who knows this. Everybody does. It's just whether they're willing to admit it or not. I'm removed and I see it, and there's so much that needs to be fixed, but it's not you have to fix the structure before you can even start fixing the internal problems. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Right now it's people like me, the DNPs that come in, and we take the literature within that structure that's been created and try to make heart surgeries more efficient and have lower risks for infections and blah, blah, blah. But the problems are still going to be there. We need to say what's going on with the structure and the system, and then break that apart and look at innovative ways to rebuild the whole way the healthcare system and health in general is looked at. And that is going to be tough here.
How do you go even back beyond that and get to the prevention? Because I mean, we're all overweight, we're all unhealthy, like we're all going to diabetes, cancer, heart disease. Yeah. How do you even step back and stop to even getting to the hospital where you need the treatment?
Right. So this is where education is really important. So I'm from Canada originally.
Oh, you are?
So I've lived in 2 different countries.
So you get it. Yeah.
I do. They were so heavily public health focused. They had nurses everywhere in schools, the community centers. They were having community events, like people routinely gathered, and they were always promoting and educating. And that's where I remember learning so much too. Like we would go to fairs. What type of stuff did you learn that stuck with you? Basic hand washing.
Oh, really? You feel like that's neglected too?
That's like one of my first memories as a young kid is just the importance of hand washing. I remember the nurse having like these little bowls and having like pouring water and washing and teaching us how to wash properly.
Seems
and singing the what was it? Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Yeah.
Once you get to the end of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, you're done.
That's interesting.
And
it's simple, but it's so powerful.
It's so powerful.
My watch will tell me. Have you got an iWatch? Apple Watch?
I don't.
It'll actually tell me when I'm finished washing my hands.
Oh, that's cute.
It senses when you're doing it, and it's like 5, 4, 3, 2. So it's an automatic timer. So
that's great.
Yeah, just a silly way of doing it.
It's awesome, and just basic things like car safety. Like there's exercising and nutrition and basic things that we just seem to be common sense to me. And sometimes I have a hard time figuring out what is common knowledge and not, just because I have a lot of education. So I'm sensitive to that. It's hard. Like I have to keep reminding myself, okay, I take that for granted because I'm so ambitious.
Outside of that, you're healthy, you live and breathe it as well. So
right. And people are like, wow, you do so much. And like people put me on a pedestal. Some people but I don't see it that way because I'm my hardest critic and I'm always trying to push more. Enough. Things are never enough, even though I know how to combat that.
Yeah.
I'm aware that I'm an overachiever and that has been very detrimental to me in many ways. So yeah, I have to be very okay, a lot of people don't know these simple things, but even in my first year of nursing school, I remember in our lab, we were given these little swabs to take home with us and to just swab different areas of our home. You got to swab 3 different places that we thought were the dirtiest.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the dirtiest places were home sinks. Number 1, door handles in public restrooms. People did not wash their hands.
I see it all the time.
It's revolting.
All the time.
And the thing is that
I don't know if ladies are any better, but guys are terrible.
Oh, girls are too.
Oh, they are?
Yes, I've witnessed it. I've
Really?
witnessed it many times, and you're just and so many diseases, people get diarrhea, infections, people always think that it's food poisoning, but oftentimes it's not. It's hand to mouth. If you don't wash your hands, you touch a doorknob and then you eat grapes or whatever, it's just, you are consuming a ridiculous amount of germs and gross things. So I think
I'm not going to want to touch anything.
I know, no. So honestly,
start wearing gloves in a while.
well, but the funny thing too about gloves, I've seen people even over the pandemic wearing gloves, or people in Subway, they're touching all these things and they're touching the door handle and and I'm like, that's the same thing as all you're doing is protecting yourself. The point of the gloves isn't just to protect yourself; it's also to protect the person.
Okay. So they're touching it and they're spreading it.
They're touching and they're still spreading. You might as well not even have gloves.
That's interesting.
So even that simple education, the gloves are not just to protect you. I mean, in the pandemic, people were using them to protect themselves, but then they would touch it and then they'd wipe their face or something. And it's they miss, there's basic fundamental things that people just don't understand about germs and and health, and even down to our food. How do we eat better when the soil, even organic food, which I try to eat so much organic,
and
but then
organic, right? Which never existed when we were young,
right?
Because everything was just done the way it
was
should
organic,
have.
exactly. But even still, the soil in which we grow the organic food, or not organic, or inorganic, which is kind of a funny way, still edible. It doesn't have the nutrients like we had before.
The soil's dug up so many times. It's
and it's depleted, and they're not rotating the crops and all that stuff. So they're putting tons of fertilizer or whatever, but we're not getting the actual nutrition in the produce. So it's vitamins and minerals. We are so, as a society in America particularly, depleted of minerals from the enormous amount of chemicals that we ingest.
That's interesting.
We have the airplanes showering us with jet fuel.
Yeah.
We're breathing it in.
I thought about
that. I mean, everything, even the electrical waves and stuff, they disrupt our oxygen and our fluid balances in our cells. So our bodies are struggling, just surviving every day in our environment right now, battling off all the chemicals and the radiation and whatever else. So that's very clear. On top of all of the stress of the American lifestyle, it's creating an enormous amount of
unnecessary stress we put on ourselves.
It's unnecessary stress.
We don't actually need to be working so hard and sleeping so less and trying to.
Right.
We actually just embrace our life, enjoy our life.
That's right, and that's one of the big things that I've learned going forward. I'm so, like I said, I'm one of the people who never knew when enough was, and it burnt me out. It was very, very bad. I've destroyed my body twice that I can remember, sort of middle, I'm sure I've come close at times where I've just destroyed myself, burnt myself out really badly. And I'm much more sensitive and loving towards myself and pacing, allowing, and I find that my focus has been on enjoying my life and having more blissful moments and joy.
Yeah, opposed to what you should do or society expects you to do, or what's fed to you.
Yeah.
Have you heard the saying, there's no difference between, once you make over $70,000 a year, the quality of life does not change? Have you ever heard that?
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, they're saying once you hit 70 grand, that's well and truly enough money, and there's no significant change for any dollar you make over that. And when you stop and think about it, you're making 70 grand consistently and you're not buying ridiculous stuff, you're not in ridiculous debt, it doesn't make a dramatic difference. And it's just an interesting thought.
That's a single person?
Yeah, I think you're saying a single. I don't think for a family that would be much, but for a single person.
Oh, for a single person? Hell yeah, I believe that for sure.
But we
you don't have kids and all that.
But we got to work harder. We got to make more money. But does it really? All it's doing is chewing up more of our time.
Yeah. Well, and that's based off of the concept. And this is one thing that's really shifting or needs to shift. It's shifted in me. It's not about working harder or more. It's about working smarter. And I know that's like a cliche thing, but people
work harder at working smarter is what I like to say.
Yeah. Yes. That's great. So people that are having to do 2 and 3 jobs, right? I mean, sometimes they have to do that because that's just where they're at in terms of their skill level or their ability at that time. But there are ways to earn where you can actually make money and have a lot of downtime and enjoy. It's about tapping into your skills and doing things that's natural to you, knowing what it's funny, and this is, again, going back to what I was saying about not realizing the knowledge that I have. People have so much skill that they don't know that they have, but because it comes so easy to them, they disregard it.
That's interesting.
And so it takes someone else to say, you're really good at that. Like you need to, have you ever said that? Like, you're really good at singing or you're really good at that.
All the
and they're just like, no, whatever. But if they were to just listen and say, you know what, like 3 people have said that to me, maybe there's something to this. And they like,
I mean, people have told me certain things and I start to listen.
Right, exactly.
That's why I'm sitting here doing a podcast.
Right. But that's a certain breed of person. It takes someone who's conscious, who's reflective. That is a conversation piece. What is it that makes someone reflective and capable of listening and then saying, there might be something to that in the person that doesn't? That shit fascinates me. Is it capacity? Do they have the capacity? I want to believe everyone has the capacity, because I'm like no person left behind. But experience has also taught me there are certain people that I think just don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
Or at least not the capacity, or maybe we can't activate them in the way that other people are. I don't know. I haven't decided.
I want to jump back to what you said earlier.
Sure.
You're talking about, like, if you're working a regular job and say Starbucks, you're making $400 a week, you're working 40 hours. I've always thought about this. If you take that 40 hours and you invest it in studying and learning a new skill, now you're making $20 an hour and you're working half an hour time to make the same amount of money. And you continue to do that. Now you're doing, like, I get to a point, I make more money in 1 hour than most people do in a week. But it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
It's just realizing you can do that, reading the books, putting the time in, talking to the people, trial and error, and not giving up.
Right.
And that's what you're getting at. And then on the flip side of it, we're so busy buying stuff we can't afford to impress people we don't like, we get stuck. And we all live above our means. And when you live above your means and you buy a car you can't afford, you live in a place you can't afford, now you're working those 3 jobs and you're just surviving. You got no breathing room. Now you're not able to learn that skill because you haven't got any time.
Yeah. Or resources anymore.
And you just get stuck. So I just want to touch on that because I 100% agree with what you're saying.
That is so true. I mean, actually, when I was married, that was one of the many things that we had a very big difference. And I could be a super minimalist. Like, I could live very humbly, very small. I like to invest
even your position. I like that.
Absolutely.
Why is that? Are you just okay with? Is that from parents? Is that from where does that come from? Because most people can't. I'm the same.
If I have, it's a wasted space thing. I would much rather, okay, that's a great question. I haven't thought like exactly why. I don't like cleaning.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I don't want to clean a big ass house.
No, I feel that.
Period.
I feel that.
And I like to utilize, if I'm paying for something that's big, I want to be able to use all of that space.
Every nick and cranny, right?
And right now, this point in my life, I enjoy my home, but my home is my sanctuary. It's my safe, quiet space. It is for me to sleep and have my respite. It's not for me to clean. It's not for me to entertain. It's not for me to, I'm out. I'm traveling. I'm networking.
I have a bedroom I sleep in, and I don't walk back in there till I go back to bed.
Yes.
Full stop.
There's no point.
Yeah.
And really, the more space I have, the more I could also accumulate, which means more cleaning. And I don't want to spend the time cleaning. I want to spend my time doing other fun things.
It's so funny you say that. My last place was 3 bedrooms, 2-story, double garage. I used probably 25% of the house.
Yeah.
And it cost me 4 times as much money. And I didn't use any of it.
Right.
Now I live in a small unit. I use every nick and cranny.
Right.
But
it's a good use of your money, right?
Yeah. And I've got excess money. I'm not stressing to pay rent.
And it's practical. I'm a very practical person,
it's so
too.
practical. And
it's practicality.
What it does, it allows you to be free.
Yes.
And I always preach this.
That's it.
Free, like I was talking about this the other day. Most people got a time or they got money. They don't have both. They got money, but they're busting around. Like a doctor.
Yep.
A doctor's got money, but they're working so damn hard they haven't got freedom.
Yep.
And then you get people who have freedom, they're not making any money.
Right.
To me, the secret is having both.
That's right.
And that's a good way of doing that is not living in places you can't afford.
That's exactly.
Or driving ridiculous big cars that you don't need to impress. And we do it because we want to impress people.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really, oh yeah, this car's great. It makes me feel amazing. And then a week later, it's just a car.
It is. Yeah.
My car's $6,000 Camry.
Yeah.
Guess how much my car payment is? 0. I paid it in cash the first day.
Yeah. It's nice.
It's so free.
And it's so funny because on my journey back to, well, I loved love. Like, and I had a very misunderstanding of what love was. I thought it was outside myself or with a partner or all those things. And really my journey of love came to basically, obviously it's loving yourself, but people don't really understand what self-love is without getting so much into it because love is such a charged word. The point of me telling this story is, for me, it was to understand that loving myself was freedom. I love, one of the big things is freedom, having my freedom. That's where my practicality and that's where all of this minimalism and came from, and being able to express myself. There's a freedom to express myself, my freedom to travel, my freedom to just do whatever.
Be yourself.
Yes, the freedom to be who I am. But with that came the big freedom of just being able to move around and not be tied down to things. I'm not a things person.
Mortgage.
Yes, I like pretty things. I will invest in a good pair of boots, or I like my wardrobe because it's part of my aesthetic. I love feeling beautiful. I love being beautiful. It's part of also my branding and all of those things. So I'll invest in those pieces, but they're not, I don't define myself by them. I just appreciate exquisite pieces, and I have expensive pieces and I don't have expensive pieces. I can mix and match, but if I value something and I know I'm going to take care of it and it's important for me, I'll invest in it. But it's not like not a stuff person. It's too confining. That'll shift again, but I doubt it.
100% on the same page. It's very rare to have this conversation too, by the way. It's very rare. It's refreshing. It's nice to hear.
I mean, in especially I guess in Vegas, because there's a lot of women. I mean, you would not believe. I don't get it so much anymore, but kind of pre-pandemic, you get propositioned as a pretty lady in this town. You get propositioned. Guys want to own you. They want to take care of you. There's a lot of girls that are looking for their sugar daddies or whatever, and that's just so far from who I am. I mean, even when I was going through my challenging time, I talked to you a little bit about that. I could have copped out at any time. I could have been like, yep, I don't want to struggle. I don't want to learn my lessons. I'm just going to let someone take care of me, and I'm just going to numb myself and do like a lot of the women that I used to see who are on uppers and downers and antidepressants and anti-anxieties and drink wine during the day just to numb themselves and be in an empty life because they didn't decide to take, the hard route.
Whereas a guy doesn't get that option. Whereas a girl, I never thought about that because I'm a guy. I don't get that option of someone coming along and taking care of me. I got to figure that out for myself.
Yeah. And so it's a very fascinating thing that I'm onto right now with this men and women and this whole shift that's happening with women's empowerment and all. Many guys don't like it. And, alpha male bullshit, whatever the stuff that's going on.
I would say insecurity.
It is. But then the guys that don't know how to handle these empowered women who want to be more, they're feminine and they're ambitious and sexy and all the things, but they're also, opting to take care of themselves. Like, guys don't necessarily know how to handle all of that. They don't have the resources, the infrastructure. And like, what do we do? Just tell us how do we handle you?
It makes them accountable too, right?
What's that?
It makes them accountable. If a girl's in shape, the girl works for herself, she's a go-getter, she's ticking all the boxes. Right. If that guy's not doing the same thing, there's no value in that guy. Why would she want to be with that guy?
Exactly. And part of the frustrating thing with women that created this whole shift in this evolutionary swing that's happening is women for so long, they've been, it was functional back forever long ago. Women stayed home, they nurtured the children, they kept the house, the guys hunted, gathered, whatever. That was very functional, those roles. That's shifted. We're modern day. We don't need to have women staying at home necessarily in that same capacity. So there's a little bit more of this equalizing going. I don't want to say women and men are the same, because they're absolutely not. We don't want men and women to be the same. But there's just this rebalancing happening. And again, some of that shift that's happened is women in marriages haven't been happy. There's a lot of research that say that. They want to be able to have their own money. They want to have a little bit more freedom. They want to express themselves in a different way.
And they should be able to.
Yep. And so they became educated and they're now doing things. And so what do women like that want or demand or are expecting of a man then? And I think some women don't even know who are empowered. They don't know how men fit in, because
it hasn't existed.
It hasn't existed, and some men aren't at that point who have evolved to match that. Now that the women have evolved, it's almost like the guys have to catch up and go, okay, what the fuck do we do? So what do you do?
You're that woman. What do you want?
For me, what's really important is having a guy who's very much invested in his own development, right? So
as a guy, I want that in a female.
Right. And so again, I was married, and not to bring any of, my ex into it or anything. It's just, and also in my dating, just in general, even with other women, I've heard time and time again, I've outgrown my guy. Was it avoidable? Was it not? But, you ask a guy to go to therapy, or you say, this is an issue. They don't want to talk about their emotions. They're not invested in really going deep, unbagging all of their bullshit and figuring out what's wrong with them the way women have had to. For forever and a day, women have had to stuff down being at home and stuff down taking the abuse and stuff it. And for many, many, many years, decades and longer, we've been unpacking our bullshit when the guys didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
Right? They were at home. There's Dr. Phil. There's Oprah. All this stuff's been coming up. We've been unloading our bullshit. Now we're like, oh, we can do this. And then all of a sudden it happened. And it's like, we want a guy who's emotionally intelligent and conscious. I love that guys are sexual beings. I appreciate all of those things. I love that they're go-getters. I appreciate all the things that men are different than me. But I want to have someone that has that same understanding and knowingness of themselves and can sit back, self-reflect, and be like, shit, you know what? I was out to lunch on this, or hey, these are my priorities. I need to stick with them. What do you need? I honor you. I appreciate you, because I am so liberal in the sense that I want you to be you. I want you to let me be me.
Yeah.
I won't be jealous of you. Don't be jealous of me. I mean, jealousy can happen, but be mature enough to work through it and communicate.
You kind of align together.
Yeah.
Encourage each other, support each other.
Right. And it's like when you really, you want to throw love into it or appreciate or accept someone, the best way to do that is to let them be who they are. And it's like, if I can be involved in that, I'll be in it. What capacity? Does that work for me? Great. If it doesn't, okay. Am I happy being in this spot, or should I just exit? It's really that simple. The problem is, to get to that point of maturity takes going through all of your garbage and all of your shadows and unpacking it and looking at your own insecurities. So like the way that I do romantic relationships is very not like traditional ways. And it's because I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I can have mature and wonderful conversations with human beings and figure it out. But it's, you know, is it an ideal? I don't know.
That's interesting. I'm thinking as a guy and knowing guys, that's going to be super rare to find. A guy going deep on their emotions and dealing with it.
It is. And so women like me at this point, I mean, I'm in a place where I have so much stuff that I'm building that I don't have. I don't have the capacity. I'm not making bandwidth for a relationship. And partly why I got there is the unfortunate truth, because I haven't found a person who was able to honor me and reciprocate the ease that a relationship can be that I was able to give. Like, you want freedom? Oh, great. I want freedom too. You know, like, I'll let you be you. Well, let me be me. You know, it's like I have that ability to say, this is who I am. Who are you? And let's just wonderfully figure out and be free together. But that shit does not exist. I haven't found that.
I feel like if you're focused, you're doing your thing, and you're driven, the right person will align with that.
And
because they're doing the same thing.
That's
and all
exactly.
of a sudden, you'll come together, and now you're a powerhouse together.
That's exactly it.
And you're not pulling from each other. There's no insecurity. There's no jealousy. There's no demasculinity.
Yes.
Like, if you're making more money, you want you to do better.
That's exactly it.
It's not an ego thing. It's I get it. I totally get it.
Yep. And it is. So that's like what men are not understanding is, like, when the women, the way they are, people have classified like alpha and beta males or whatever. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. They're all like, there's this shift that needs to be made. And really what we value the most is a man who can look at themselves, reflect, be real with who they are, know what they want, know how to, like, have a process in place to go through your own bullshit and, like, communicate it in a real, mature, like, human, vulnerable way. Vulnerable is the key. Guys don't know how to do vulnerable. Women have had to learn how to be, you know, chicks with dicks and hold their own as a CEO. And we've had to be badass bitches, like actual bitches, not like, you know, the trendy, like, we're badasses because we're bosses, but like, we've had to almost overdo our need to be strong in very unnatural ways to survive in the male world.
When you say men and vulnerability together, it doesn't mesh.
Right, exactly.
I mean, do you know I've built a men's group? Do you know about that? 2 months ago, I put a men's group together. Oh. Just shy of 80 people in the group now in the space of 2 months.
Congratulations.
And I hosted my own event a couple of weeks ago, a full day event. But for me to do that, I had to show vulnerability. Yeah. Because it was a personal reason. I had to drop my guard, show vulnerability to help other people be vulnerable. Yeah. And by doing so, now there's 80 people in that group. Right. It's amazing.
Thank you. See.
But it wasn't easy.
It's not.
And it wasn't easy for me to talk about. And it wasn't easy for me to talk about with my friends on the phone. And it wasn't easy to drop my guard.
I honor you for doing that, because you set such an example. The
females were so damn supportive.
Of course.
Girls I don't even know would be like, oh my God, they're sending me messages like, this is amazing. I'm so glad you're doing this. Yeah. And now finally I'm starting to get the guys doing the same thing. Right. But yeah, the females are like, you were all for it. Like, this is what guys need.
That's exactly it.
But the guys don't get it. My guys are starting to get it.
Right.
Slowly but surely. But yeah, guys in general don't get it.
Well, I appreciate you doing that, because that's what women need. I mean, if men could step back and really understand, and I'm not a feminist, I'm a woman who's just living my truth. Like, and I have shit I need to do in life, and I'm just doing it. So, you know, if men understood what women went through, like, from being sort of in the home and the evolution that we've had to go through, that has not been easy. Like, for us to feel the need to step out of homes and break families up and initiate divorces, which most women do, that shit isn't easy. We don't just make the decision and be like, fuck it, I want my freedom. That's not what it is. It's coming from a deep, unsettled, place and a desire to have more. We want more with our partners. We've wanted more in our marriages and our relationships, but we didn't get it. So we stopped sacrificing ourselves for someone that isn't understanding, isn't vulnerable, isn't matching our desire and our need. So it's an unfortunate disruption that's happened, but all great innovations are very disruptive, as is evolution, you know? So now we're creating, what has this created? Someone like you to create a men's group to help them be vulnerable. And that's what we need. That's awesome. That's cool so beautiful. So it's great that you're like starting this initiative, because this is the beginning of this rebalancing into these new humans we're becoming, because that's what this is. This is all evolution in my eyes.
Yeah.
You know, like people that talk about, you know, the alpha males that are these empowered women are abominations. It's like, okay, well, you are basically denying the entire concept that brought you to your existence, which is evolution. This is simply, in my eyes, part of the evolutionary process of humanity. So for you to deny evolution is to deny yourself. And so I don't even interact with those people, because my philosophy, it's like, you don't believe in evolution. Obviously I do. So I won't engage.
Yeah. What I found interesting is, like I mentioned, I'm 43. It's like you become this person and you don't realize that you become this person.
Yes.
But then when you stop and think about why you've become this person and you look around you, my dad was a firefighter. My dad works in a hospital. My dad is a guy who provides. He's there at all time. Never seen him upset. Never seen him cry. You look at your movie stars, your alpha males, your athletes. They're all got this persona on. They're all tough. They're all brute. They don't cry. They don't show weakness. So consciously, subconsciously, that's just what we see.
Right.
And that's who we become, because we don't think, guys don't stop and think like females do.
Right.
And all of a sudden, like your 43-year-old male who's never cried in his life.
Right.
Who's never showed vulnerability in his life.
Yeah.
Who, my ex cheated, next door neighbor, a whole bunch of crap, didn't share it with anybody. Didn't tell a single person. So, I mean, you can't go through something like that by yourself.
Right.
And then there's this thing keeps coming up in the group. It's like, guys are human too. But for some reason, we don't think we're human. Females are human.
Right.
The guys are different. Why are guys different? They're not different. They're human beings. So why don't we act like that? Why don't we act like one?
Well, it's conditioning.
But it's pre-programmed without even be pre-programmed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, my dad didn't sit me down and like, oh, you don't cry, you got to do this, this, and this. Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
It's all I've known.
Right. Yeah. And so it takes an active process.
Active process being the word.
And that's what I was saying. It's like getting your backpacks of bullshit and conditioning and thumbing through and figuring out what beliefs, what neuro programming, whatever it is that you've got, is it helping me or is it not? Yeah. And it takes a lot of time to go through every one of those bags. And the more years older you are, the more baggage you have.
More baggage you're gonna have.
So, I mean, I always try and start it young. But you got to go through every single one of them. And some of that shit you pull out, you don't want to. You're like, I'm dealing with that bag last. That is a scary bag.
It's just taking some type of action, right?
It's something, baby steps, but just something. Yeah, something to start the personal development process, because it is the key and the way to our happiness. And that always starts within us. Even if someone wants to have a relationship outside of themselves, if you're not good in here, you're going to attract someone that is your equivalent. That's just how it goes.
If you're toxic in here, you're not kidding. Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
100% agree. So we've talked about this a couple times, and it's like, you got to be the person you want to be to attract the person that you want to attract.
Yes.
So you can't be twiddling your thumbs, making an excuse under the sun. You got to take accountability of your own life.
Yeah.
You got to take accountability of your own actions, your physical shape, your financial shape, your relationship shape. And when you do that and you become the person of integrity, punctuality, you become the person that you actually love yourself, you're proud of who you are, then the right person will align, in my opinion.
Yes. If that's what you want.
Mm.
You know, does everyone want to have a person? Do we all need to have a person?
And that's even more important. Not needing
Who
the person.
knows if even
being
as
okay with yourself.
Yes, even as this.
And then if someone comes, if you want it.
And what does that look like? Even for myself, being in this new space, this new empowered space, if you will, and being ambitious, I don't even know what I would want, if ever, in a person. I'm my own rock. I always thought I needed someone else. But when I sat down with myself, and I'm like, everything that I've ever done, I've been able to do and accomplish on my own, whether I was married or not. So what role does another person play in my life? I don't do better coupled. I had this belief, swear to God, I'm a couple person. I do better when I'm coupled. That was a fucking load of shit. When I really sat down, because I was dating and it was just felt so awkward. I'm like, I really don't want to be in a relationship, but I'm a couple person. And I sat down, like, I was listening to myself, because I will talk out loud to myself in my little space. I love it. I probably sound crazy, but I talk.
I mean, no one's there to hear
No
you.
one's there. I'm totally love
want.
it. And then I'll listen to myself and I'll jot notes down about things that come up. And I'm like, these are two completely opposite things. I literally said to someone, I don't want to be in a relationship. Then I'm a couple person. I'm like,
just contradicting yourself.
What the hell is this? Oh my God. And then I
had to figure this one out.
I was like, holy shit, I'm not a relationship person. So why did I think I needed someone? Oh, shit.
One of my favorite quotes is like, those who don't increase you will eventually decrease you.
Yeah.
If someone's not adding value to your life, they're taking it from you. And that goes, if you're good by yourself, be good by yourself.
Yeah. Like right now, I'm at that point. Again, part of me getting to this point was because I've had so much trouble just not finding a match. But again, I believe everything is serving. So for me, I really, really believe me having the challenges I've had was for me to realize, oh, click, I need to be focusing on these. I need to hone in on my ambitions. And when I aligned with that and stopped thinking and searching for something that really wasn't there. It's like, oh, I really didn't want that in that way. All these opportunities, everything started flowing. You know, you're in alignment when shit just flows.
I'm 100% in a flow state.
Flow state
from
is
this
brilliant.
Podcast, from this group, from my next group.
That's awesome.
I am such in a flow state, and I know it.
That's great.
Every conversation I have, every new friend I meet, I 100% know.
Right.
I've never been so sure in my life about anything, to be honest.
That's amazing.
And it's so nice to be able to say that.
Right. And so that's like a piece of advice for everyone that's listening. If you feel like stuck or, whatever, you're not in a flow state, you don't know what that feels like, you really need to take time to reflect. Like I call it the remap process.
The remap process.
REMAP. The very, very first R stands for reflection. And people can reflect in different ways. Clearly, I shared mine, which was talking out loud to myself, and then I make jot.
Where do you do that?
Where? I just walk around my house. Sometimes I'll lay down, I'll meditate, and then I'll have because I play with different like brainwave states, like different states of consciousness, and I can tap into one that I get brilliant ideas and realizations, and I'm just like, oh shit, that's what that is. So from there, I'll talk through it, out loud. So I'll come out of a meditative state, and I need a lot of my own time. So like cohabitating ever again, I don't think that would ever be possible for me because I am in such a good state. I don't want someone's energy or like, stop talking out loud to yourself. I'll be like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, you can't be here. This is so powerful for me. This is how I've become successful to attract you. So I'm very, like, I'll walk around the house, or I'll sit after my meditation. Sometimes it'll be journaling. I do different types of reflection, but that's what's really key. If someone is feeling stuck, they need to get a practice. Like, first thing I teach anyone who's diving into any personal development or feels stuck, okay, you need to get quiet. You need to learn how to meditate, and meditation.
Get up here, right?
It is quieting the beast.
Yeah, taking the time to stop and think and reflect. And even just driving the car.
Oh, driving is the best thing.
And
any opportunity to drive across to the other side of town, I'm in.
and not having audiobook on, not having a song on, just being up here. It's amazing what'll come up when you actually be quiet.
And it's not even being up here. It's actually being not there.
Yeah.
It's in a state of stillness.
It's something distracted.
Right. So there was, when I was doing my coaching really heavily, I was coaching more in the spiritual community. It's just kind of this wave of what I went through in my growth. I would use the phrase, in the stillness, the word of God speaks. And God, again, is another one of those taboo words, but basically consciousness, whether you think it's yourself or another being or whatever, universe, the void, whatever you call it. But when you're still, that's when you basically tap into those mysterious states of whatever you want to call it, that everyone can experience, whether you're a spiritualist or not, or whatever you believe it is. When we get into altered states, shit happens, brainwaves happen. We've known this since the beginning of time, that you can have those epiphanies, those moments that completely change your reality and your understanding of whatever. So I am such a huge, huge, huge supporter and advocate of getting very still as often as you can. If you can be present in that state as long as you can during the day, you want to make magic happen, that's true magic. Miracles happen in those moments. Because the epiphanies that you can have and you can create, and the states of bliss and joy. Like, I have so much, like when I was in my shittiest time in my life, where my life was totally falling apart and I was just surviving, I had more blissful moments in those times than I ever did in those 30 some odd years before that.
Interesting.
Because when the world outside is so scary and you can only go inwards to feel peace, wow, that's where that's where I first learned to tap into all of that, because I was escaping what was scary and I couldn't control out here. But from that, anything was possible. And from there, I made impossible things happen.
That's very interesting.
So it's like, stuckness is just you not being in flow. You need to get
Stuckness is you not being in I like that.
Yeah, you need to just, I got to get still and quiet to figure out how to find the crack in this box that I'm in, and then, shimmy your way through, and then it'll open up. So
I like it. There's so many things we can talk about, but I want to get to the mental health side. Very passionate about it. You've been through a lot. That makes you even more passionate about it. Where do we start? Got depression, got all these things people are suffering from.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you kind of run this bit.
Yeah. Mental illness is so near and dear to my heart. I've seen it growing up as I had a family member who suffered from depression, some obsessive compulsive disorder tendencies, possibly even some ADD. And I witnessed it. I experienced a little bit of challenges, a lot of depression, anxiety, compulsive tic type things growing up. Nothing like formally diagnosed. I always say it was some form of OCD. I don't know. It wasn't like I needed to be on medication, but it was destructive enough where I knew that I was not the same as other people. And then seeing it also in other younger family members. So it's something I've studied a lot. And it's a shame, because I'm here to help inspire people to reach their highest human potential, to break through the limiting constructs that hold us back from our true brilliance. And mental health is so fascinating because there's no cure for it right now. There will be one day. If I can be a part of that one day, I would love to. It's sort of part of my mission. But we don't understand it enough. And there's a lot of literature, a lot of nouveau thinking concepts about it being like depression, being a state of consciousness that we can actually tap into, and it can be a creative outlet. Like people who are artists, they don't want to get rid of their depression. And I treated artists with depression, and they didn't want to feel suicidal. They didn't want their depression to go away because their most brilliant artwork came from that state of sadness. From that
darkness. That's interesting.
Right. And it wasn't necessarily their pieces were sad, but just the state in their brain that they got to, that opened them up to this whatever conscious state that they were in.
That's interesting.
It allowed them. So, and the chemical imbalance. So we're not even understanding fully what mental illness is. I worked with a naturopath who was very, very firm with believing that schizophrenia and different, types of illnesses were actually parasitic and very heavy metal toxic induced situations. And when she would chelate them, their mental illness would improve substantially. Her regimen is very, very intense. So there's these multiple factors that are involved with mental illness, which is very fascinating because the mind is so elusive to us. It in itself, it's not tangible. How do we think thoughts? These physicists are starting to bridge the gap between spirituality and our bodies. And they're coming to understand that there are these fields of existence that have to exist. We can't explain it, that are infiltrating and connecting the mind and the body and our soul or whatever this other energy field is that we have. So mental illness is so complicated, and it's fascinating to me because it's elusive and we can't put our finger on it, and it's so destructive and it's so limiting. But at the same time, like for myself, having gone through all of my trauma, somewhere I don't even know, all my anxiety just left. My compulsive tendencies just are now more tics that are focused, that happen when I'm in a creative space and I can control them. Like I'm not burdened by what I was when I was a kid and that other family members have, so.
What do you think about what like Tony Robbins says, like depression and a lot of things come from lack of purpose? And in today's society where we lack purpose more than ever because we're less responsible for a lot of things.
That's funny you say that.
What's your thoughts on that?
So I didn't call out Tony directly on this, but I did in one of my podcasts just recently. I disagree actually with it being the lack of purpose.
Okay. Why is that?
I mean, depression in itself, there are people that, yes, they can lack purpose, but it can absolutely bring you down. It can absolutely pull you into a place of sadness when you don't have purpose. So I'm not denying that.
That side, okay.
So I believe that, but it's not complete.
Yeah. I totally agree.
I think
it's one part of it.
It's one piece,
but it's not all of it.
But there is a subset of people that does not apply.
Chemical imbalances, the way you're born, hereditary.
Brain chemistry. And I know this for me, like I, as much as I wanted to like deny or just, I was having a bad time or it was a lot of stress or whatever. Yes, stress plays a lot into when I have my melancholy and other things, but there are times when I know there have been, I just know when those times have happened, those were times where those were completely my brain wiring. There was nothing else that could explain it. It's happened enough. I've had enough other experiences that I could very much isolate, because I'm a scientist, right? I control variables all the time. I'm a human experiment on myself. And where I can say, no, I know when I am in a spot where I am not firing. And there are things that affect that, but it is not consistently lack of purpose.
Okay.
Because there are days I am so purposeful and then something goes awry, whatever it is, and the purpose is there, but all the shit is still being experienced.
Yeah, very interesting.
So
yeah, I'm glad I asked you that because I always see him talk about that.
But yes, there are a lot of, especially in the United States, there are many, many people that are mentally intact. Their brain wiring is fine, and they are just purposeless, or they feel lost or whatever. And when they can find it, yes, absolutely. But there are many people that does not apply.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, an artist, they have purpose. They know what their role is, and they fall into their funk, and that actually feeds their purpose. So how do you explain that? When their purpose is served by their depression, they get to live their artistry purpose through their depression. Right? Isn't that an opposite?
Yeah, completely. Very interesting.
So, and then them not wanting to get rid of their depression because it's their bread and butter, and that's where they enjoy their creative expression. It's like a love-hate thing.
So what type of stuff do you recommend? Someone who's in funk, someone who feels depressed?
Well, definitely having clarity on who you are and what does give you fulfillment is really important.
Okay.
So what are the things that bring you joy? And
that's going back to quiet and reflection.
Yes. So it's always, everything comes down to quiet reflection and understanding that you can clear your mind. And from that place of stillness, you can then you're in a place where you can start breaking things apart. So you cannot go run a marathon if you're not conditioned, if you're not trained, if you're not in a state. So Tony Robbins talks about being in state. Totally love that. Like it's, you have to be ready. Like you're on your starting line and you're like focused, you go, right? So when you're wanting to break down, if you're, depressed or, dive into that well to try and figure out what's going on, you always have to go from being in a clear state of mind, meditation, or whatever you want to call it. And however way, there's a gazillion ways that you can get into that meditative or that quiet state. Meditation's just the easiest.
Yeah. I like what you're saying, because I journal each day, and 2 sections, purpose, another section, what brings joy.
Yeah, it's great.
Every day, what is my purpose? Or what's purposes?
Yeah.
What brings me joy? Just so it's top of mind. It's just there. I'm thinking about it. I'm aware of it. I'm looking for more of that.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny actually you say about purpose, because it's also a cart and a horse thing, because there are people that will have purpose, and then when something shifts, and they go into that depressive state, they lose purpose. So like, again, with what Tony was saying, yes, purpose can give someone who's depressed undepression, their happiness back. But what if the opposite is true, that something is happening that actually puts you in a consciousness state, or the chemical changes where you can't grasp at your purpose and you lose that? Because I've been in that state before where I was sure as shit that I knew what my purpose is, but when you get discombobulated, you're so numb that you feel purposeless, or you can't grasp at it. You don't know. It's very challenging. It's a very challenging state. And that's where, I'm excited with how research is going to start exploring depression as a state of consciousness. Where do you go? What is that experience? And now depression, I kind of isolate separate from anxiety. And even there's a finer line from schizophrenia and bipolar and the rest. Because again, depression, I feel is very, it's more of like a conscious state. Anxiety is really about fear. And that's more of a belief systems. It's lack of experience. It's trauma maybe, or conditioning that needs to be unraveled. And that's from my own personal experience. I'm not making any claims. I'm just speaking from my experience and experience with other people and coaching, that when you break down the fears, when you face a fear, you don't have a fear anymore. Like even NLP, people who go through NLP with their fear of snakes, like they can break their fear of a snake very quickly. So when you unbaggage that, then the fear is gone, which a lot of times where anxiety is a root from. So depression, I feel is very exciting and interesting, because there's so much to be gained from understanding it from a consciousness perspective. And how does that play into purpose? And if we understand and tap into, like for me, even when I get more of a melancholy day, I know when melancholy comes that something brilliant's going to come on the other end. I know it. So I go into it like when I kind of am just feeling down and low, and I'm like, okay, I'm in that just melancholy, not a depression state, because it's very different, but melancholy. I will take my time alone. I'll cancel plans and I'll just go into deep reflection. I'll actually go more into that space, but from a meditative place.
Yeah.
And I can get through it in a shorter period of time. And I'll oftentimes cry because all these things will come into my head that have been making me miserable. And then it's like, there it is. That's what needed to shift. That's what I was processing through. That was the garbage that was creating all of this, whatever. And it would be some sort of creative expression or epiphany or some new purpose that came from it. So maybe depression is a moment for someone that needs to be broken to find their purpose, or vice versa.
Okay.
I'm just talking out loud.
You're in great shape. You're very healthy. What your habits? I'm guessing you got a pretty high standard for yourself. You're a go-getter. You know, you work for yourself. You're trying to like accomplish the world. You're trying to help other people. You're also in shape. What type of disciplines, habits, what it's allowed you to do what you do and stay where you're at?
I have fuck off on my forehead all day long.
What do you mean? You just like, you don't want to, like your blinders up.
I have my blinders up.
Gotcha.
I stay very, very focused on the prize.
So like guys, dating. I mean, I'm guessing you got a good environment and friends though, right?
I've been rebuilding. So I went through a phase where I deconstructed my whole life, and I've reconstructed. Yeah, I have some really great friends now. I have a lot of acquaintances and friendly, I don't even know what to call them. You know what I mean? Like,
but you have limited
you
close.
Can't call a friend who you interact with like an acquaintance, because that's offensive.
Your car breaks down the side of the road. You got some people who are
yeah. But like I have my close-knit people, like just a few that are like always going to be there. Yeah. And then yes, I have my like circle of friends, my group that are really great and supportive, and you know, that I can go to. I have different pockets of people.
Pocket's a good way of putting it. And you have different conversations with different people in those pockets, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I Argentine tango, and I'm working to compete in September.
Oh, really?
Go professional at some point.
Really?
So I did ballet. I danced in a company when I was 17. And then, you know, did my medical training. I was very much focused on that. I love it. It's a beautiful expression. Because I did ballet, I picked it up very quickly and easily, and it's just so beautiful and sensual, and it's a performance, and I'm a performer. I love the expression. So I have my tango community friends, and then I have my podcast friends, and then I have my kind of more professional work friends, and then my random outsiders that I've collected along the way. I balance it all out.
I like that. And then as far as like habits and things, exercise, diet, journaling, meditation, cold therapy, like what do you do? What don't you do?
Yeah. So meditation, huge. Balancing, connecting with myself. That for me is my reinforcement every day to stay focused on not burning myself out, remembering who I am, remembering what my intention is.
Yeah.
Not so much my purpose, but like what my focus is. Because I'm very clear sort of in with my purpose, but it's what is my focus and what is my intention, and then the to-dos with that, right? So I keep aligned, very clear, try to be as clear as I can every single day. If I get overwhelmed or I'm feeling flustered, I go back to that. Like the quiet time is a habit that I'm doing definitely every day. My sleep hygiene is super important.
Your sleep hygiene.
Yeah, your sleep is where again, the conscious states, what you're processing at nighttime is important. What you do leading up to sleep is so important.
Setting yourself up to sleep well.
Yeah, I call it my sleep hygiene regimen.
I like that. So what is the regimen?
So
guessing staying off your damn phone.
It is hard for me to be on my phone.
Oh,
I am not a social media. Like
that is awesome.
There's a statistic that's like, you know, or I don't know what the statistic is, but like most people have a hard time. Like they recommend, whoever they are, to not be on your phone doing social media within the first hour. Like the owner of the podcast studio, he's like, Leslie, I won't swear. You need to be on social media more. I'm like, it's been 4 hours. You haven't posted anything. I'm like, dude, I hate it. Like I love being inside. Inside is where all the fun, juicy stuff happens, because I can create and control this. And what I control here is what comes back to me out here, because everything is connected. I feel like that's how you create and manifest and you draw opportunities.
Yeah, I'm beginning to like it less and less, but all my work comes from it. All my views all my everything comes from social.
See, and for me, it's interacting with people when I mean, videos are important. Like we connected online. Like I do make my connections that way. But I find when I'm in person, I have a much greater impact.
Oh, 100%.
So I think that's...
Plus it's our generation too.
It is. Yeah. It's
like calling people on the phone. I'll still call people more than I will text if I can.
I've actually started sending videos to my friends. Like I'll just record a video and send it to them just because I want them to see, oh, she does look like shit today. Or, oh, she's not always airbrushed. Like it's just authentic. Like, and I like it to be personalized. And I like them to see, and it just has a bigger impact. It's just like a thing that I'm experimenting with. And people seem to like it. And people are starting to video me back. And I'm like, you don't have to, but
that's
monkey
cool.
see, monkey do. And it's just a fun little thing.
So what is the regimen? So you're
sleep.
You're not on your phone. So what?
No, I'm not on my phone.
What are you
I've
doing?
actually just recently rehabbed it. I usually take a bath, or I do some sort of physical hot soaking thing. I used to stretch, but that was the worst thing because I used to get cramps. So I've been seeing Ron at Maximum Velocity Physical Therapy, and because I've been dancing more, and a lot of when I used to do bikini muscle competitions, I had a lot of contractions in my legs. I realized stretching was actually the worst thing because it was over stretching, and I had no stability or strength. So I was getting so I don't do stretching anymore. What I'll end up doing is I'll sit in a like, I guess, cross-legged. So I'm still kind of getting a little bit of a stretch, but it's the whole point of me stretching was really just to relax my physical body. So I'll sit and I'll meditate, and then I will rub lotion on my body, which is actually good for lymphatics. It's good for cellulite for those ladies that are listening. So I'll still do something physical that helps me connect with my body and relax my body. So the hot bath relaxes, the physical touch, it connects me with myself. It's good for the, just the circulation and the lymphatics. And lymphatics that's a whole other show to talk about lymphatics and the importance of it in everything, immunity, health, cancer, all that, prevention, all that sort of stuff. And then I've started to read. I turn the lights down low. I'm reading more. I kind of went through a non-reading phase. I'll read, I'll journal, write, and then I have my white noise, or I have some sort of brainwave music that I'll listen to depending on what I feel in the mood for, and I'll do my visualizations. Gotcha. So whatever it is I want to create or manifest, or whatever word you want to use, because you want to be in a state that you want to basically wake up in. So you don't want to be crying or sad or depressed or hashing through something miserable, because your brain is going to be processing at that level.
Yeah.
So I, before bedtime, will use the music or whatever it is to think about what I want to create, or something beautiful or something like that.
That's interesting.
And then I turn it off and put my white noise on, and then
you're out.
Drooling.
That's a regimen itself. Do you intermittent fasting, anything like that? How's your diet?
I don't. My diet is so, I guess, clean. It's super clean. I eat baby food and meat. Pretty much. Just like baby food in the pouches. Like really? My favorite one is like strawberry, banana,
is it really?
Blueberry. I swear to God, in my life.
You do in front of people?
Yes.
What do people say?
And I eat my cold chicken from a bag. Actually, one of my friends, we have this joke, because he's like, he heard on my podcast that I eat baby food and I eat cold chicken from a bag, like I did when I did bikini competitions. And he's like, oh my God, I laugh so much. But I was thinking, like, I'm going to do that too. So now we send each other pictures of when we're eating our, what's in our Ziploc bag today.
That's hilarious.
So I'm always on the run. Food is fuel to me. I do like sugar, which is like one of the worst chemicals you can put in your body.
I like sugar too.
But it is like my thing.
It's balancing it.
It's balancing it. So I figure, since I don't eat a lot of carbs, I'll throw a little sugar in there. But
what would you say your balance would be, like healthy to bad? Like 80-20, 85-20, or 85-15?
Of what?
Of like good food to bad.
I don't know. 15 sounds like a good bad ratio. And it's candy or chocolate.
Yeah,
for sure.
We're on the same page.
Like I'm not a fried food, French fries, but
bakery. Give me candy and chocolate.
Yes, or I like bagels. I like bagel skins.
What's a bagel?
A bagel, like a bagel with a hole, like not a donut, but
what's the skin?
You skin just the skin of it, the outside.
Really?
I will skin it because I'm a texture eater. It is so bizarre. People, like, I'm outing myself so bad with all my food habits, but I will skin a bagel and I'll throw the rest out. I like the texture. I like the seeds. I like the outside.
Yeah, first time I've ever heard that.
I know, it's crazy.
Whatever works for you. Is there any?
I just like the outside. I like the crusty outside. I don't like the inside, so I throw the inside out.
Is there anything? What's something nobody knows about you? I mean, you're a dancer. I do
Argentine tango. Yeah, I'm working to become a professional.
That's
That's
awesome.
not a very common thing. I'll make it at some point to that level. I'm going away actually this weekend to San Jose for a tango festival.
Oh, very cool.
I'll be dancing with a friend of mine who's from the other side of the country that we've met at a couple festivals before. So we're just going to rip it up. And I've been really honing my craft and studying more. And I'm now at the intricacies of the footwork, right? Because that's really what makes someone stand out from someone else, is the footwork and the musicality. And I love music. A lot of people don't know that about me. I love a bunch of different types of music, but very much, I don't know, tango music is just, there's passion. I'm a very passionate person. It's very seductive. It's sexy. It's also can be happy and bouncy, but it's so juicy. And I love the movement and music and the expression. Like I'm in many ways a born performer, and I perform always, like in a way I'm performing here because I'm tapping into a different energy of mine here. When I'm in the clinic seeing patients, I'm performing. When I'm on stage or I'm dancing, I'm performing.
Too,
when
right?
I competed, when I did
I'm the same. Yeah, podcast, or I competed, or I was on the show on the strip, or I was always in front of the spotlight.
Yeah, and
if I'm not, I'm creating something to be there.
That's exactly it. And it's like it's not like I'm a different person. It's a part of me. And even when I'm with my friends, I'm crazy and silly. I'm the same thing. But it's like I am this expressive person. I am a
self-awareness,
performer.
right?
Yeah.
It's something that you're good at and you're passionate about and you want to do.
Yeah. And I can turn it off. When it's turned off, God, what is it like when I'm turned off? I'm just in myself.
By yourself, quiet time.
Yeah. Like me outside of performing, it's like, it's become so blended because it's a part of everything I do. It's like, I'm a performer in every sense of the word, I guess. And performance, I don't want to make it seem like it's fake or acting.
No,
you're on.
Yeah. It's still being yourself.
I'm still myself.
Yeah.
I'm just on.
You met me today. I'm the exact same person as I am anywhere else you'll see me.
Right.
All the time.
Yes. Okay. So you get it.
So damn consistent.
Right.
And I'm not worried if anyone likes it or doesn't like it. I like who I am, full stop. That's all.
Yes. And it's funny because I'm this way with my kids too. And like yesterday I did this whole sort of evening thing with my daughter, and I was out with friends and people were interacting, and they're just like, she and I were just bantering back and forth. She was busting my chops. I was busting hers. It was like, and she's little. It was just such a cute little like bonding thing. And we were both in our own way, just being us little performers, like just, being silly and having fun. And whether it was just her and I hanging out or whether we were in front of people or whatever, it's such a fun side of me. Isn't it fun to be expressive?
Just being yourself.
Yeah, just in general, it's so good to be in your own skin.
Being true to yourself.
Oh, it's taken me so long. I don't know how long your journey took you or if you even had to do a journey to get to this, but mine was hell, and I'm so grateful. I'm sometimes just overwhelmed with gratitude when I have my moments of reflection, because part of my remap process, the progress check, is also being grateful. So checking, your progress, how far you've come. And I just take those moments like I actually did earlier today. And I was just so like, overwhelmed. It brought me to tears with how grateful I am that I not just survived all of the shit that I've been through, but I did it. I did it so well, and it brought me to this place.
Yeah, and you've grown from it
so much. And it's just like,
you wouldn't take it back for anything, because
I would never take it back. And I remember in the middle.
I've literally heard this so many times.
Yeah, I remember being so many times being in the middle of it and just like cursing the universe and being like swearing and hating and I don't want anything to do with you and like, how dare you? And like, it's all you, right? And all outside myself, even though I had begged since I was 5 for me to be the person that I wanted to be, not knowing how to get through it. And now I'm on the other side going, oh, wow, those moments where I broke. I can count all those times when my ego broke, when I was broken like a wild horse. And like, those were those moments that cumulatively made me who I am today. And I'm so, so grateful that I survived. And I like, because it's not easy. A lot of people don't make it through. There's a lot of people committing suicide. They're opting out, and you can. We don't want that. There's a better way. I almost did too. Like, there's got to be another way. I can't do this life, Yeah. It was in the moment of silence where I had that sort of download. Looking at the bottle of pills, I was like, fuck, is this it? Like, am I going to do this? And then I got real, like shit got real. And I just like, everything went quiet. And then it was just like, there's a better way. It doesn't have to be like this.
That's crazy.
Okay, how do I do that then? And I put the pills down and I was like, shit, I was not what I was expecting. I didn't know. I'm like, is this it? Like, wow. And the reality struck, and I don't know why I went quiet. I had been meditating tons and tons. So I think I just was able to automatically go there. But there are people who follow through. They didn't cultivate that stillness. That fucking saved my life. That meditation, that being able to tap into that conscious state of stillness saved my life. And it can save anyone's life. It can transform your life. That's why meditation, that quiet is like so it's magnificent. It is mysterious. Like, there's so much in there. People don't even realize. It's limitless what can happen there.
You made me want to push it harder now, which I love. And I've been pushing it, but yeah, that's awesome.
It is the basic and the most important in those fucking moments where you will make a decision. You get quiet, clarity. That's it. It's that simple. In the stillness, the word of whatever you want to call it speaks. Done. Case closed. It happens. It just is. And I've talked with so many people on my podcast and before, and similar types of things. Like, they just had this moment, something clicked, and then they just knew. Yeah. Some people who are aware, consciously aware, heard something or knew. Other people, it's just like, I don't know. It just clicked. It was just there. I was upset, and then it was just clear, and I knew what to do. So some people, like I said, they can break it down, but there's always that moment. For that moment to switch, something has to happen, right? You have to be in a state for that light switch to shift, right? So we can manufacture that opportunity to happen through getting still, right? So then it goes back to how we started. Do we all have that capacity? I think we do. I just don't think we have the skills and the tools yet.
Yeah, okay.
And if we start teaching people how to be still, this seeming, oh, he just doesn't have the capacity. I've heard therapists or coaches, he just doesn't have the capacity to be what you need. Fuck that. Yes, he does. He just doesn't have the tools and the skills. He could want it. Maybe he doesn't want it. That's a different story. But I know everyone has the capacity. I want to believe everyone has the capacity.
I like that. I think it's a perfect way to finish.
I think so too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.